found you. You set a table for me in the presence of my enemies, to share with my enemies. No longer my enemies, no longer my enemies. There's a river running through our deepest sorrow. There's a river running through our deepest pain. There's a river running through every dream that never came true, made us it can. But there's a river running through. We repent, we repent. There's a river running through. We repent, we repent. There's a river. We repent, we repent. There's a river running through. We repent, we repent. We repent. There's a river running. There's a river running. There's a river running through.
We can decide if we are falling, because every single call is a chance to realize we're dependent on the fate of our circumstance. We've been living minute to minute. We've been holding on to every breath. Somehow our hearts are still in it, but all our innocence is left. We're in for nasty weather, and I'll ride it out with you. We won't be riding highs and lows like tides of ocean blue. We won't be here forever, just a moment, then we're through. We can be shifting with the sands, like seasons always do, like seasons always do. Everything we said was a reason for us to pick up our things and go. But even when we climbed up the mountain, we knew that we had nowhere to go. We're in for nasty weather, and I'll ride it out with you. We won't be.
Welcome to chapel, everyone. If you want to stand and worship, you can, and we're going to get into worship.
Blessed be your name in the land that is plentiful, where your streams of abundance flow. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name.
Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Blessed be your name when the sun's shining down on me, when the world's all as it should be. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name on the road marked with suffering. Though there's pain in the offering, blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. It's dead. Oh, here. Okay. Was actually clicked off, if that makes any difference. So that one might not have been child locked.
Oops.
Oops, that happens. I'm going to go back because we may have people online. That's okay. Psalm 16 says, "Keep me safe, my God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. I say of the holy people who are in the land, they are the noble ones, in whom is all my delight. Those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. Lord, you alone are my portion and my cup. You make my lot secure. I praise the Lord who counsels me even at night. My heart instructs me. I keep my eyes always on the Lord." As we begin worship tonight, I have a few announcements for you, some things coming up. We have a couple of camps that will be that have been talking to us and asking if there are any students interested in camp experiences this summer, whether it's a program director, working on the waterfront, being a camp counselor. One of them is real close, an hour and a half-ish away from here, called Camp Greenwood, and they'll have some representatives here next Sunday. If you are interested at all, you can chat with them. You can also, if you want to grab that QR code, or we'll have it available to later if you're interested in chatting with them. There's another one in Harding Lake, Alaska, which I'm sure is where everyone has always wanted to go, been on your list. And they're really excited too about the director is from, I think from Kalamazoo is what she told me. So anyway, she's been calling different colleges that she's heard great things about their students, and Elmo was on her list, which is fun. So I have some information about their camp also. They will not be visiting, but if you want to see what they sent, also be speaking tomorrow night at 7:05, or right after Student Congress ends. So please make sure to be back here if you can. And then on Thursday, we have Spencer LaJoy, who will be here in concert at 7:30. So again, if you have any questions about those things, let me know. And then lastly, we have a little bit of a special service on Easter Sunday, and we're looking for some extra readers for that day for some liturgy that we're doing. So if you'd like to be one of those readers, let me know, and we'll get you what you need to know for that. We didn't do name tags tonight, but the question was going to be your first concert, best concert. So if you can take a minute and say hi to somebody around you and let them know if you have a first concert, best concert that you can share with them, since we're looking forward to a great concert this week. And then we'll continue in worship.
I've been to Pentatonics a couple of times because my sister loves Pentatonics. I've also been to, what's his face? I don't know, but he wrote Chainbreaker, it's like the Christmas song. So yeah, those are the concerts.
Feel free to sit or stand for our next song.
Letting go of every single dream, I lay each one down at your feet. Every moment of my wandering never changes what you see. I've tried to win this war, I confess. My hands are weary, I need your rest. Mighty warrior, king of the fight. No matter what I face, you're by my side. When you don't move the mountains, I needed you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. Truth is, you know what tomorrow brings. There's not a day ahead you have not seen. So in all things, be my life and breath. I want what you want, Lord, and nothing less. When you don't move the mountains, I needed you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. You are my strength and comfort.
wish I could walk through when you don't give the answers as I cry out to you. I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. I will trust in you. I will trust in you. I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hand. Faithful. In all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You're close like no other. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life I have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I'm surrendered now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. All my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
We have our next senior spotlight tonight, so I'm so pleased to introduce Danny, who is going to share some of her story. Yeah, give her a hand.
Hi, my name is Danny Reese. I have had 3 years to prepare for this since I first learned about it, and I don't know what to talk about, so I'm going to try my best. So my college experience has been anything but ordinary, so to say. It's definitely not a bad experience. I've been extremely blessed and extremely lucky with some of the opportunities I've had, but definitely not ordinary. Starting off with freshman year, COVID freshman, I started college in the middle of a pandemic, which is weird to start, except for I am also on the swim team and on the Kilty marching band. Playing flute with a mask was awful. 0 out of 10, I would never do that again. But once again, I was super, super lucky because I still had a swim season. It wasn't a normal swim season, but I had a swim season, and we didn't march, but we did have a marching band show. Religion-wise, coming into college, I was an adult now. I didn't have my mom to hold my hand, even though she's here. She's great. I love you, Mom. I was raised religious, but is this what I believe in? Is this what I associate with, or is just what I was taught? Andrew Palmerville, the man, the myth, the legend, one sermon with him, yes, this is what I wanted to believe. I just needed some energy because, holy cow, that man's got some energy. Sophomore year is probably my almost normal year out of my 4 years here, other than some weird injuries that some people might be considered not ordinary. It's status quo for me to be just like broken. So relatively normal year. This was the first year for me that I was like, hey, I'm part of the chapel, but I don't feel like I'm enough of the chapel. I grew up in a family that we didn't say no, like, ever when it came to church. We were constantly helping out with stuff, and so just being here, just coming to chapel, just coming to service wasn't enough for me. So I decided to apply, and I became the small groups coordinator, which I love. It's given me a lot of opportunities, including my Lent Bible studies come Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. down in the basement. We have dinner. But yeah, and that is something that really has had a huge impact on me. I love my chapel staff, and it's just been a great opportunity to think about how I can help other people become stronger in their faith. So the next year, my junior year, is where things start to really become, this is not what most people, this is not normal. Starting off the year, I started having issues from the get-go in swim and band. I was noticing I was having trouble breathing. My heart was weird, like outside of just like I'm working hard, I was like, something is wrong. Literally took us the entire year to try to figure out. We never figured it out. Eventually did, I'm fine. Just, I had COVID and it messed me up. But it was really, really hard that entire year trying to do what I love, and just my body was like, no. But pushed through. I still had swim and band. And then once everything started to seem like it was calming down, I unfortunately lost one of my good friends, Anya Wiltsey. This week actually will be the 1-year anniversary of her death, which is really weird to think about. It was very devastating to me when she died. She was an absolute ray of sunshine, such a kind human being. She wanted to be your friend, and she's actually a huge reason why I was still in band, because being in band in COVID was miserable, and I didn't know anybody. But I knew Anya because she made a point to know me, and we were gonna play Minecraft together because she found out I played Minecraft. So yeah, this was definitely a time I was really glad that I had the chapel. The day after she died, there was a vigil, and I remember I came here about hour-ish early, and I talked to Alyssa. I cannot tell you what I said. I don't remember. It was not a great time, but I do remember Alyssa gave me the comfort and the support I needed, and I will forever be grateful for that, so thank you, Alyssa. So yeah, that was not normal. That was not ordinary, but I have took it, and I have ran with it. Anya and I were both in the same section, and I took what she believed in, the kindness, the friendship, and I absolutely committed that to my section, and this year, we were so close. We got matching bucket hats that we tie-dyed. We got matching little t-shirts. It was great. And even, I can say, this season wasn't ordinary. We had not one playoff game, but 2 playoff games. And let me tell you, we were close the entire time. I bought everybody hot chocolate at one point. We had a flute Christmas. It was great. So yeah, my senior year, I've made through all these obstacles. I'm an RA. An RA has plenty healthy dosage of not normal, and especially when you're in Brazil and Dunning, which is the last building to be renovated. You're never bored. Never bored. Yeah, I started off this year on crutches, which Not most people do that, but I fell at band camp and hurt myself. So, yeah, I have not exactly had the most normal experience. And a huge part of the not normal for me was here at chapel. As I said, one of my first experiences in the chapel was with Andrew Palmerville. Back home, so I grew up in a Lutheran Missouri Synod church. Nothing wrong with that. I love my church. But that tends to be very much not like Alma. It's very strict. Everything is scheduled. Andrew Palmerville was not like that. And for those of you who don't know, that would be like what Andrew Palmerville did. I have a very vivid memory of my freshman year of jumping around and pretending to be the stars because Andrew Palmerville picked me to do that. So yeah, being here was definitely, it was very weird to me, but it is definitely something I really needed. Back home, you know, very structured. We go to service. You go to service, you sing. We have communion every other week because we have 2 services. It's set in stone what you do. You don't come to church and spend an hour fighting with lavender because you can't make a St. Bridget's cross and it's making you mad. I tried so hard. You don't go sit in the back on a comfy little pillow and just chill with Katrina, who tells you you're not allowed to graduate. Try to stop me now, Katrina. But yeah, it is definitely something, though, that has greatly changed how I see religion. It doesn't have to be strict. Things can be different, and that is okay. One thing about different, and this is very weird to me, and I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but having female chaplains was one thing that was very different to me, because that is not something we had back home. I could not be more grateful for Alyssa and Katrina. As I said, Katrina tried to tell me I couldn't graduate. Obviously, that's not going to work out. But she has constantly brought a smile to my face time and time again. I've watched her kids run around, and they bring a smile to my face. As I said, Alyssa has comforted me in one of my darkest moments here at Alma College, and I could not be more grateful for you two and the impact you have in my life. A couple more memories I'd like to share of my unordinary college experience. Once again, started out in COVID, so we used to have chapel over there on the chapel lawn under a tent. I was lucky enough that the church I grew up at, we had an outdoor sanctuary, actually, but we sat on rocks. We didn't sit on little benches, bundle up in blankets when it's basically freezing outside. No, we'd go inside, but we didn't have that option here. And so Andrew Palmerville, once again, knowing that everyone was kind of done, and I think at this point in the school year, it was like just before exams or something. I don't remember. It was a stressful time of the year. And I'm coming out of my dorm. I was in Gelston, coming out, and I hear Andrew. He's strumming along on his guitar and talking, because that's classic Andrew. And then as I get under the tent, he's like, guys, we're going to do something. Repeat after me. And he strums. And then he takes a deep breath, and I'm not going to do, just screams. He just screams. And he stops, and then we take a few minutes, and then everybody in that tent, deep old breath, and just screams. That is not something that would ever happen in my church back home, like, ever. And that is something that, honestly, I loved having here. It was definitely a moment I was like, this is so weird. I love it. It was a moment, as cheesy as it sounds, I felt like I was home. I felt like this is the place I want to be, with the crazy chaplain who's screaming at the beginning of service, because that's the energy I want. So yeah, I am, as unordinary as it has been, I am very grateful for everything I've received at my time from spiritual life at Alma College. I would like to say thank you to Alyssa and Katrina for giving me the opportunities and supporting me nonstop. Even though he's not here, thank you to Andrew Palmerville for reminding me that, yes, I am a Christian. I do believe in this. Sometimes you just need a little energy. I would like to say thank you to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes for giving me a group of people to realize that meeting in the middle of the week to talk about God isn't always a boring Bible study for adults. We can have fun and play games. I would like to thank my fellow chapel staffers for just always having fun. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And I would like to thank just everybody who's been here and come to chapel for giving me a place that I can call home and for supporting me nonstop. I hope you all aren't afraid to experience something unordinary and to embrace it, because you never know what you're going to get out of it. And I really hope that you can take the opportunities like I have, and you can find something that changes your life for the better. Thank you.
currently serving in West Virginia. She has worked 20 years with Palestinians and has gone there many, many times. In fact, she just got back about a week or so ago from visiting there and being in solidarity with the people. She works in the Israel-Palestine Mission Network of the PCUSA. And as we were talking last night, did you say it was 9 years ago that you were at Hanover, where I worked at the church in Hanover, and she gave a presentation on Israel and Palestine that I just happened to go to. It was 9 years ago this week, and that just feels like that. So, forward to the word that you're going to bring. I appreciate you being here. Welcome.
Am I on? Can y'all hear me? Good. Thank you all for your warm welcome and hospitality already. It's amazing to be here. It was a joy to have dinner with you all and be picked up from the airport. Everything has been amazing so far, so thank you all for modeling that love and hospitality. As Katrina said, I just returned a little bit ago, a week or so ago, from a trip to Israel, Palestine. I was there on a delegation with 35 folks, mostly Presbyterian. We had a few ecumenical partners. And this was my 10th trip to the region. And it feels very, besides the date that Katrina shared, this all feels like it's coming very full circle for me. When I was your all's age in going to college and chapel studying, and even after that, I would never have told you that this is where I would end up or what I'm doing. So it's been energizing to hear you all be in the stages of your life that you are and imagining what might be next for you. So I'm still definitely processing the trip and the recent experience and recent events in the last few months. But it was the unbroken loaf of bread on our communion table last Sunday that finally broke me in front of everyone on Sunday morning at church. I hadn't been back from the recent trip a whole week yet, and somehow the headlines had gotten even worse. On Monday, as I was catching my connecting flight in D.C., active duty airman Aaron Bushnell self-immolated in front of the Israeli embassy there in D.C. to protest the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Then Thursday that week, just a few days later, the attack that came to be known as the Flower Massacre happened. In Gaza City, hundreds of people had gathered to receive aid packages. They'd been told that the trucks were arriving soon. And when they did, Israeli soldiers opened fire on them, killing over 100 people and wounding more than 700. Some were killed as tanks drove over their wounded bodies. When I got up to the pulpit, similar to this one, to share the joys and concerns for our congregation like I do most Sundays, I made it through listing all those issues that I wanted to pray for just fine. But I made the mistake of looking down at the communion table in front of me. And my voice caught, the tears started to well up. And the next thing on my list of joys and concerns to share was the greetings and well wishes from our official church partners that I was bringing from the region. Our delegation had met with leaders, friends, even the Catholic Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, and we'd been hosted in the home of the former Grand Mufti of Jerusalem and current Imam of Al-Aqsa Mosque. And I needed to share all those official greetings and move on with the prayers. But my voice was completely stuck, and this is not something that had honestly ever happened to me, in that physical feeling before. But I knew that my grief-stricken silence was probably the most fitting conveyance of their true state of being, more so than any official statement that I could read. It would not be lost on those friends that I was sharing greetings on behalf of, that while we were preparing to celebrate communion together, a time of remembrance that Jesus' body was broken by the empire, when we had such easy access to a clean, fresh loaf of bread for this sacrament, that our neighbors in Gaza have been grinding down animal feed to survive. Those men had queued up, hoping that they would finally take flour home to their families, At least provide them with one of the most basic elements of our human diet that many have been without for weeks and some even months. Instead, the waiting empty wagons and faithful donkeys prepared to haul bags of flour to hungry families took the stacked, broken bodies of their loved ones to burial. For many of these acts. These are some of many questions that I'm left struggling with after this recent trip. And I'm sorry to say I'm not going to provide the answers to them for you all today, but we need to wrestle with these questions as a people. And I hope that wherever your lives take you, you will be part of this continual conversation. One of the living saints of the church that we met with on our trip was world-renowned scholar and theologian, Reverend Dr. Macy Rahab, who encouraged us to start thinking about what our theology and church should look like post-Gaza. Not to say that the situation in Gaza is already over, but we have witnessed such extraordinary acts of soul-wrenching violence over the last 5 months. They bring into sharp focus the international crimes of the last 76 years of the occupied Palestinian people. That we can't go any longer about church as usual. We can't go about school or business as usual. To be real about a post-Gaza faith and theology, we need to be real about how we got here too. And I don't just mean October 7th, and I don't even mean just the Nakba of 1948, which in English translates to catastrophe. It references the creation of the state of Israel and the massacre of Palestinian villages. I mean being real about the centuries of anti-Semitism, the extensive trauma history that Jewish people carry with them through the generations. I mean being real about the anti-Arab racism that we still let slide while we think happily that we've cured our own inherited white supremacy as we say Black Lives Matter. I mean, we need to be real about the history of settler colonialism that genocided the indigenous people of this very land that we stand on today, to be replaced with a whiter Western empire. I mean, acknowledging that the epitome of monetary success the world over for a few thousand years now has been built on the backs of enslaved people, from the US to Congo to Sudan to India. In both Christianity and Judaism, we have the same basic religious guidance to love God and love your neighbor, repeated in different ways. We have the Mosaic laws to care for the stranger, widow, and orphan, and we have Jesus reteaching that in many ways in stories like the Good Samaritan. But I recently learned that the Prophet Muhammad has a similar related teaching that I find especially helpful for this current context and where we need to go. When Muhammad shared a teaching that as believers we are called to love everyone, even our oppressor, he was questioned, but how can I love my oppressor? He answered, you love them by keeping them from being an oppressor. True love for your neighbor means intervening when they are not acting in loving ways. True love for your neighbor means making sure that they can love themselves and what they've stood for in years to come. Put another way, Reverend Cornel West says, justice is what love looks like in public. So as a white American, I'm not going to tell you what the solution is to Israel-Palestine. It's not my place. But if I claim to love my neighbor, I have to be prepared to act on that and not to add to the problem. I draw wisdom from the example of Reverend Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a German Lutheran theologian who was eventually executed by the Nazis for his part in the resistance. He once explained in a sermon, "If I sit next to a madman as he drives a car into a group of innocent bystanders, I can't, as a Christian, simply wait for the catastrophe, then comfort the wounded and bury the dead. I must try to wrestle the steering wheel out of the hands of the driver." He went on to say, "We are not to simply bandage the wounds of the victims beneath the wheels of injustice. We are called to drive a spoke into the wheel itself." We tend to be overly reductive when we discuss the issue of Israel-Palestine, and folks love to put you in only one of two camps. You can either be pro-Israel or you can be pro-Palestine. But I would argue that expressing true love for either one of those groups of people mean that you have extensive love for the other. Because our liberation, our freedom, and our peace are bound together. Loving Israel and Palestine and their people means preventing them from causing harm to themselves and each other. When Israel or the U.S. or any other nation is acting in a way that shreds at the collective fabric of humanity, they are destroying their own lives too. When your life and safety is built only on the oppression of others, you are not safe and you are not free. When your humanity relies on taking away the humanity of another, you are already sacrificing your own soul. As long as you stand with your boot on someone's neck, you are not free to move. You're not going anywhere. You cannot live up to your fullest potential. No one is free from our collective responsibility to others and to creation. Whether we think we're involved in this or not, we are, just by being human and being on the planet at the same time. This all sounds very heavy. I can see your faces. I know what point it is in the semester too, but this is heavy stuff to hold. The overwhelming evil and catastrophes that we feel like we've lived through. You all had a very particular COVID experience, and we know the world is never going to go back to what it was before COVID. This is another one of those moments where when we get farther away in history, we'll look back on this and see there was a before this happened and an after time from this happening. So the hope I have to leave you with is not maybe the warm, fuzzy kind that you're used to, but I think it's the kind that is going to get us through the world today. And that's thinking through things in the long term. We're living at this turning point, and you all are a part of this moment. And we get to decide collectively how the world proceeds from here. What are our collective values? How should it look to love your neighbor in 2024, in 2034? One of my favorite sayings that I have ever learned, and gives me a lot of guidance in a lot of cases, I learned planting olive trees in Palestine. And for it to make more sense, you should know that olive trees can live for thousands of years. The oldest studied tree that's still living in Palestine that I have harvested, still growing olives from, is at least 5,000 years old. They've had many universities and scientists from around the world come to test this. So if we think of that timeline, if we think of Jesus and the New Testament biblical times happening about 2,000 years ago, that tree was already old in that land when Jesus was walking around with his friends and disciples. So we need to think long term like that. We need to think collectively like an olive tree. So the saying goes that a society grows great when old people plant trees under whose shade they will never sit. So I think that is true, that if old people are thinking that far ahead, they will plant things that make the world better. But thinking about talking to you all in particular as college students, the only thing I think will give me more hope than that is knowing that young people are already planting trees under whose shade they may never sit. As we can hold each other in collective love, in collective liberation, in collective justice, that's the only way for us to find hope and peace and comfort in our daily lives and in our collective life. I'd like to close by sharing a poem that I just came across today that I think sums up it's called What I Mean by God, the Concept God, by M. Jade Kaiser. What I mean by God is bread for everyone, is shared rage at cruelty, is attention where it is needed, is grief held in community, is blooming uninhibited, is water flowing freely, is children at ease, is mystery and magic, is how trustworthy the rising, collective and determined, powered by love, rooted in truth, sharing risk. Amen.
Space, but that we celebrate the breaking of this bread and the pouring of the cup with Christians around the world. And so we do so and pray to be nourished and sustained to do the good work that God has called us to do. I like to remind you that this is not a Presbyterian table, it's not the college's table, but it is God's table, and Christ invites all who trust in him to partake of this feast. Let us pray. Holy and gracious God, there is so much that is on our hearts and in our minds, and on our spirits. We know that you will hear all of it, those words that are spoken and those sighs that are too deep for words. And we give you thanks for those ancestors who have gone before us in faith, who have shown us the way, for those who still continue to guide us in our path. We ask that your Spirit be before us and behind us and within us every step of the way. We pray that your Spirit may be on this bread and this juice, that it may be the body and blood of Christ, to nourish us, to sustain us, to guide us in this journey. And we pray all this in the name of your Son, who taught us to pray using words that are most familiar to us, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. The night had come that Jesus was to be arrested under the olive trees of Gethsemane, which are about 2,000 years old now. But before that was going to happen, he gathered in an upper room in Jerusalem overlooking the city with his friends, with his disciples. And at that meal, he took the bread, he gave thanks, and broke it, saying, This is my body, broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me.
In the same way, he took the cup and said, The cup of the new covenant, shed for the forgiveness of sin. Take, drink. Friends, every time we eat this bread and drink this cup, we proclaim Christ's life, death, and resurrection until he comes again. We invite you to come forward if you would like, take a piece of bread, dip it in the juice. If you prefer not to partake but to have a blessing, and come forward with your arms crossed.
like a river attendeth my way. When sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. Though Satan should buffet, though trials shall come, let this blessed assurance control that Christ hath regarded my helpless estate, and hath shed his own blood for my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul. And Lord, haste the day when my faith shall be sight, the clouds be rolled back as a scroll, the trump shall resound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well, it is well with my soul, with my soul. It is well.
Really a question, sort of. Oh, wherever you want. Well, not wherever you want, I suppose. That works. Perfect. The closer we get to the end of the year, the harder it is to do senior spotlights, which is why I ask you all to do them in the fall, by the way, and nobody takes me up on it. It's fine. Danny, I am so, so thankful for your willingness to keep showing up when things suck and are really hard. And I sometimes have wondered how in the world does she does it, that she does it. But one of the things I have so enjoyed watching in you is that realization of your faith, to know that you do know, that you know, and you've gotten there kind of some tough ways. And I think that is sometimes the best earned. And I'm just so proud of you.
you grow and be so confident in it. I'm so grateful for you. Well, let's do the circle. My microphone is on. You're actually.
Last week we realized we often invite you all to like raise your or extend your hand out, which you can totally stay where you are and if you would like to. But if you'd like to come closer and actually put a hand on Danny's shoulder or somebody else, you're welcome to do it. Putting everybody on the spot right now, so welcome. But if anyone wants to come closer, you're welcome to. We like to do this to show. Yeah, there you go. We'll make a little bit of space.
Love that. Love that.
So this is one of the many, there you go. This is one of the many ways that we remember that community, that solidarity in our faith communities. And I don't know, it's not always perfect. Sometimes it's awkward and weird and it gets too hot up here the longer I talk and all of that. But I think it's important. So friends, would you pray with me over Danny? God, we are so thankful for everything that Danny is and brings and just exudes in the world. Thank you for that joy, that determination, and the willingness to bring other people along. She doesn't feel like she has to go it alone, but she wants that community and wants to bring and spread that joy with other people. God, we just thank you so much for the gift that she's been in this place, and we know that as she goes, wherever she goes, and that you go ahead of her, that you are laying that path, have it laid, and we just ask that you would help her see one step in front of the other each time that she's taking a new step, knowing and trusting that although it might not always be perfect, and it might be weird and out of the ordinary, but you have prepared her for just those moments. God, we ask for Danny and for everyone here that we would always remember that you go before and behind and on every side of us. Amen. Friends, thank you for being here tonight. Remember to come back tomorrow at 7-ish to hear Reverend Macy share with us more tomorrow evening. And then Thursday, we'll have Spencer LaJoy on campus. And next Sunday, we get to hear from Lily Brown and her senior spotlight. So you'll want to have a great week.